So hello and welcome to the webinar that goes about going paperless document management and digital transformation. And today we're going to talk about AI era in document management and all of the pros and cons it brings about. My name is Ruslana, and I'm taking care of sales and partnerships here at Nectain, a modern document management system powered by AI. Together with me today is Daniil. He's our head of customer support, and he's taking care of delivery and also of the client's happiness. And also
Hello,
today we have a
everyone.
special and also today we have a special guest. So please meet Patrick White from DEX Imaging.
Yeah, hello. Thank
Patrick
you.
Patrick has over 20 years of experience in document management and content systems. So he's really seen this industry from every angle. Patrick currently serves as the director at large at IM Southwest and LATAM. So it gives him a great industry-wide perspective on DMS adoption. And also day to day, he's a solution consultant at DEX Imaging, where he supports organizations across the entire DMS journey: selection, implementation, automation, adoption, everything. So, Patrick, welcome. We are really glad to have you here.
Thanks for having me. Always great talking with y'all.
Great. So, Patrick, really glad to hear you with us today. And let's go ahead and kick this thing off with a broader question, right? You've been in this industry for quite a long time, and you've seen a lot of change, right? But I think in the recent couple of years, especially with AI really taking off, it's just has blown everything wide open, right? So from where you're sitting right now, what you're seeing, what do you think we're going to see in the coming year as the most important trends in document management?
I think just adoption of being document management in general, even, growing more than it already has been with unstructured documents being processed with AI and handwritten data being able to be extracted much better than it ever was before. There's a lot of processes that have been sitting on the back burner, as to say, or have been sitting in hold because it took too much time, to implement and maintain and just use in general. That this AI has really been doing great with, getting these things set up and running.
Yeah, great. So it sounds like we're pretty aligned on what's happening in the industry right now, because this is exactly one of the trends that we prepared for the discussion today. We have three of them. So let's dig into the trends we identified. First, AI unlocks any document. Here we're going to be talking about AI turning exactly the unstructured data that you mentioned into actionable insights. Second, DMS breaks down silos. Here we're going to be talking about integrations, which are making the systems talk to each other in real time, right? And they're becoming more common in the DMS implementations as well. And number three, as document automation goes mobile. Mobile devices, here we mean mobile devices and applications that are playing bigger role in data collection right now. So maybe Daniil, let's start with you on this one, right? AI unlocking any document. From what you've seen in customers, what does it actually look like in practice, in real implementation, and where it is making the biggest difference?
Yes, so I believe that the biggest difference is allowing to work with unstructured content and to work with paper documents which were not in a good shape or maybe just unsorted. And AI actually allows us to recognize those documents, to OCR them, and to later use the metadata extracted from the documents in the further workflows and in the work. And why AI is changing this part a lot is because the previous technologies for the OCR, they they really needed a lot of training, right? So the machine learning used for for the OCR, it was
it was a big thing to let the computer know where exactly you store the information. And here is also a big difference. So before we used to, as you see right now on the screen, we used to put the squares or the areas and say like, hey, here is the date, here is the address, here is I don't know, line items of the invoice. However, when a new invoice came in, for example, or any other document, any other version of the document, right, where all those data present on the list, but they're just in different places. It was quite a big challenge, and the training process should usually start again or to fulfill the new document type. With AI, it doesn't really matter where the data is located or how the invoice look like. We're speaking here about invoice, but you understand that it's basically any document in general. So for AI, it doesn't really matter where all the data are located, how the invoice look like, what are the format, if it's one page or two page. It will still recognize and extract all the metadata from the invoice and put them in the correct fields in the system. It will also recognize handwriting if it's readable by human, then it's usually readable by AI. And this is, I think, the biggest change AI brings to DMS, allowing you to really work with unstructured documents uh, so easy that before it wasn't even possible.
Yeah, so you're saying no templates, no training, right? Does it really happen like that? Because what I know is like we really have to plan the document types and set them up in the system. So what is meant actually? Maybe Patrick, you can talk about this a bit. No templates, no training. What does it really mean for the client?
Yeah, so it's really been impressive over the last few years, the evolution in this kind of technology, because before you would have to every different type of layout of a document, every different vendor, every different document you'd have to create a template, and that template's very rigid. If things move around, things like that happen. So you have to have that set up even before you even try a customer's document. So
Mhm.
it's really been impressive being able to just take a customer samples on a call, or if we're out doing a visit, take some of their samples and just run it through the system. And most of the time, it's as they would call it, one-shotting it
Yeah.
right out of the gate. So no setup, and it's grabbing all the data that's needed, especially for documents like invoices that are we already know what kind of information we want to get off them. And then even some of the more unique documents like contracts or letters or something that's very specific to a customer, the AI only really needs like a little nudge. It doesn't need a whole templating system and scripting and logic to figure it out.
Mm.
It's been really nice as a as a consultant to have this improvement.
Yeah, if we dive a bit deeper into the trends, right? This is the current trend we've seen, right? And we really work with this, I think, with every client. So what do you think is coming next? When we talk about unstructured to structured data and even maximizing on the data that we get from all of those unstructured documents, massive documents sometimes, right? What do you think is coming next, maybe in coming years with this technology? Maybe something like conversational AI. I don't need to even work on the template to train AI. I just upload something and write something like I write into the chat GPT. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I could see the direction of going where you're not even really using like search dialog boxes, things like that anymore. You're really just talking to the DMS like you would any like a chat GPT or Gemini or something like that, where you're just talking to it like, show me all the invoices from this company, or within this date range, or how many different vendors did I buy this product from. But it obviously goes a lot deeper than just invoices. Even contracts, being able to just get a summary of a document. It's really nice if you're just kind of going through some documents and reviewing before a meeting, being able to pull up a summary of a contract or a lease or something like that. I think will be very handy in the future to have in a document management system.
Yeah, exactly. I already feel like there are a lot of expectations from the clients, right? They already start to, because this AI bubble is growing so fast. I think the clients almost anticipate that DMS providers should be ready for this move, and I think it's going to be really very convenient and maximize the value of DMS in future. We're not yet there, right? We're building something like that, and I think a lot of providers also thinking about that, right?
Mhm.
Okay, so trend two is about integration. So this is also something that we see quite a lot. I think even setting AI for a moment, right? This is something that we've seen come up in almost every DMS conversation, right? Because of organizations operating in increasingly connected environments, CRM, ERP, AP systems, communication platforms, and integration isn't just nice to have anymore, right? It's essential. So, Patrick, does that match what you're seeing as well, right? Would you say that this counts as a trend of its own, or it's maximizing the impact of AI again?
Yeah, it seems almost every time we get into designing a solution for customer, integration is a requirement, not just a nice to have thing. I know in the U.S. market, we had a report with the AIM organization showing that a lot of customers are even trying to use things like their CRM or ERP as their document repository. Obviously, there's some pros and cons to that, but usually we can address this by how about we can extract all of this data off the document, and as you go through the workflow, we can push that data over there, and then link over to the document in the DMS, so you have the best of both worlds. But yeah, with a lot of the applications going to the cloud, APIs are readily available. You don't need like a toolkit or something. REST APIs are a lot easier to work with and keep things uniform. And yeah, makes for a nice total solution from end to end.
Yeah, you mentioned this risk when the client is perceiving the drives, right? All of these folders that are already in Drive as a DMS system. And I think we had a recent conversation, and even in one of the the recent webinars, we were talking about that. So Daniil, maybe you can talk a bit about, once again, this risk when we're perceiving that once we put something in a structured folders, then the expectation is that it's almost like DMS, or it's already a DMS, right? So can you talk about how different is the drive from the actual DMS, and what are maybe the key thing that you get when you have the full-fledged DMS?
Well, yeah. So the key thing here is actually the what is usually called the metadata. So when you use solutions like cloud drives, like Google Drive, for example, you make the structure, the folder structure, which is great. You put the files there, but you have very limited metadata. So basically, when you try to search for the document, or when you want to grab some information, some data from the document, you actually just working with the file names, and then once you've found the file, you need to open it and then search again or manually read it to actually get the answers. Whereas with the full scale DMS, let's say, all the needed metadata is extracted from the file, from PDF, for example, right? And you have them available as a data set in the DMS. So these are document types and all these things. And because you have all this metadata, available in the dataset in DMS, you can actually search not only by the file names, you can search by the content straight away. You can make reports. You can place the data on the dashboard, and you don't necessarily need the file itself. All the information which is really important for you, which is relevant to your work, was taken already from the file, and you have it available in the system, and you can process it. And of course, we have this last slide with integrations. So it's really hard to integrate with Google Drive. I mean, or any other cloud solution for this type, because you will be just exchanging files, right? You'll be just moving files from one system into another. Whereas with the metadata taken from the file, you can actually process them even automatically. And what is more important, you can actually send it to other systems so that they create their own records and do their own job. So imagine you receive an invoice, the DMS processes it, extracts all the data, then it pushes to the accountant software, and the accountant just doesn't need to see really the file, or maybe just for verification and correction. But the invoice in the accountant system is created automatically. So this is the biggest difference.
Yeah, but still, it's not just rumors, right? A lot of clients, we're hearing that they made the best use of the drives, and they already are very successful in storing their files. It's very secure, right? So, Beto, have you ever seen the successful usage of a drive like Google Drive or Microsoft Drive as like sort of a DMS? Have you ever seen that in clients?
Not in a true document management sense. Sometimes it can be useful for kind of a temporary or easy access for like a departmental use. But like Daniil was saying about the folder structure, that's you have like one view into how the documents are structured when you want to go search. And then you also have like human error or humans ability to be dynamic. They'll maybe one person is wanting to put it as like Acme Company, and one person says, no, it should be Acme Co. So you have those kinds of differences, whereas with a DMS, you can enforce these rules, which name to use. Can they only use this name? And then if you need to change up how you want to look at it, like, do I want to see all the contracts from 2005, or do I want to see everything from this state? You have a lot of different ways that you can look at the data. It's a lot more dynamic, whereas in these cloud storages, or even sometimes SharePoint, you kind of can be limited very quickly. So it's kind of a trap. It's very easy to set up and you can get started, but then, your ceiling for how useful it can be for a real department or for a real workflow becomes, an issue when you start scaling up your business.
Right. Well, I've heard that there's also the possibility to set up the sort of like a automatical workflow in Microsoft, but it also needs settings to actually building it, right? So yeah, and one other question that I think we wanted to touch while we talk about integrations is the question about security and the data ownership, right? So data ownership is something that we usually get a lot of questions about in almost every opportunity. So it's general one, like who owns your documents, who owns your data? Because wherever there is AI in the dialogue, we always get those concerns, the compliance concerns that who's going to be using it, how the data is going to be used, and like who is able to see what, but most importantly, what AI gets access to and how we can limit that, right? So can we talk a bit about this perspective? What we can do being a DMS provider, right, or like the team who implements the DMS to help our clients be more confident about how their data is used. So I don't know, Patrick, you may start on this.
Yeah, so I mean, being able to understand, who, where's the LLM that's being used? Is this, made by the DMS provider? Is it an outside source? Can you bring your own? If you have started training up your own LLM for your own uses, can you use your own? And how frequently do those get updated if the other DMS is using outside LLMs, how easy is it for them to change or update, which LLM? And then, do you get good audit logs? What data was sent to them? What was the responses? So if you, have an audit and you need to show that, well, this is the data that came back from the AI, and then human looked over it. It's useful to have good audit logs of everything that's coming, in and out of the system.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
totally agree. I totally agree with this, and this is what we've been working on a lot. First of all, the audit log to provide the user information what was actually sent to the LLM and what was the output. So what data was received back. This is a very important part. And also, it really depends. I believe it depends on the scale of the company or the size of the company. I mean, smaller companies, I think they can feel themselves pretty secure even with the top leading models on the market. And of course, as a DMS provider, we should also think about bigger clients, enterprise clients. And for them, as Patrick mentioned, we prepare connectors where where they can connect their self-hosted LLM. And in this case, the data is totally belongs totally to the company.
Yeah, so that means that the best case scenario here is to be absolutely secure in this question of the data ownership, is to actually have your own LLM, right? Which
Yes,
can be then plugged into the DMS, but not all DMSs, right, that allow plugging in that model, right? So that would be the best way, right, to have your own LLM.
yes, that's the most secure way. But as I said, even if you use models like ChatGPT or Claude, I think that you can still be pretty safe or feel yourself safe that all the data you have will be stored in the DMS. And well, let's be honest, even if you don't have DMS, it doesn't mean that your employees don't put the documents into the ChatGPT to work with them. So I believe it's as I said, at some scale, the company can feel safe really with all these big models, and the paranoia level shouldn't be that much, that big, sorry. But yeah, there is a totally secure way, and as you said, it's the self-hosted LLMs.
So basically, the only leverage here that we have is being able to monitor the audit logs, right? Who is doing what actually, so that whenever there is I don't know, information leak, we know we can at least monitor where was it, right?
Yes, exactly. Also, I mean, it's also very important to set up what actions you use the LLM for, and what documents you recognize. Um, you know, Using the DMS doesn't necessarily mean that you have to recognize all the documents with AI, right? Some of them can be created manually, so that's also kind of a protection from AI.
Right. Okay. Thank you. Well, trend number 3, I think this is like a logical finalization of the first two, right? Because we have the going from unstructured to structured and then actually integrating it all within like a good functioning ecosystem. So I wanted to bring up another topic about going mobile, right? So here in the slide, you see the on the next slide, I guess, we see the man scanning something on a big bucket or maybe somewhere in warehouses on a big box. And this is something that then needs to be put into the system, right? So it can be either uploaded into the DMS, or you can use the true enterprise grade mobile capture. So what does going mobile actually look like for the customers? Patrick, maybe you can take this one. So why does it matter now more than it used to?
So the simple answer would be that the sooner you can get that data into a process, the sooner you can get that process finished. So in a lot of cases, that means either getting an approval done faster or getting the next step of a workflow done. So for us, I've seen a big pickup in this because of access to mobile phones and tablets that have good cameras now. That we can capture things like labels or even like delivery receipts. We've had a bunch in the manufacturing industry where people, are walking around a warehouse like you see in the picture here. But they're walking around with like a clipboard and a piece of paper, and normally they're waiting to go back to a desk later in the day to then scan, and then somebody is keying in that data. Whereas now, if they're still wanting to use that clipboard and write out their things, they can just take a picture and upload it, and it will go ahead and process the data right then and live. So it's on its way quicker.
Yeah. So do you see that the usage of mobile devices already a lot? And is it also coupled with the using the actual mobile applications for the DMS systems right now?
I do see it more. I think it got early adoption. Mobile phones got a little bit of early adoption a little while ago with a lot of people doing like expense reports. So if you travel a lot for work, I think that was the first example for me that was really popular with this. But it just seems over the last year or two, because receipts for expense reports is pretty simple documents, but I've seen the complexity of what documents increase lately, and it's actually kind of nice because, like I say, it goes back to the whole, projects that have been on hold or sitting on the back burner for a long time are now coming to be able to be implemented well. So, yeah, I welcome all the mobile uses that we have coming in nowadays.
Yeah, and we actually have something to show you, right? We have our own mobile app, and I'd ask Daniil to now maybe walk us through just a bit how that works in practice.
Yeah, it's actually pretty simple. So we have all the main steps right now on the screen. So anywhere you go, you have your mobile phone with you. You actually open the Nectain, the application, the mobile application, and you point the camera to the document or to just a piece of paper or just to written text. You need to recognize. Then you let AI do the work, do the recognition part, and extract the metadata from the text. Then you see you have this step where you control of what was extracted, so you can quickly check what you see on your mobile phone and what was actually written, for example, in this barrel. And after it, you create the document. And once the document is created, you have possibility to share it with your colleagues. And you can even chat about it in our application. So we have a pretty good chat there. And of course, all the features connected to the document, such as workflows, are available in the application. So you can actually even work with tasks in the application. Once the document is created, you can route it to the correct department, or send the data somewhere. Everything what is working in Nectain also is represented already in the application, or will be represented soon. And Ruslana, I think we can move straight away to the next slide and show maybe the video.
Yeah, we have a short video clip, right? Yeah, let's show it.
All right. Yeah, so sorry, I'll just pause it. So this is actually how the application look like. You have this nice yellow plus button on which you click, and you have a couple of options. You can create the document manually, or what is much better if you use this scan document option. Yes, and as you all know, all the modern smartphones, they have a really good camera, so it doesn't really matter what is the uh, lighting levels in the room, or how good is the text written. So you can use your actually mobile application is using the phone camera to read the text. That's true. Yeah, so as you can see after the document, the photo was taken, you actually, when you click this scan button, you actually taking a photo. So after it, the document, the data are recognized and put in the correct fields, the metadata. And as I said before, after it, you can share it with your colleagues, ask them questions, or just discuss whatever you need to discuss about your document.
Yeah, there's already a question from Julie in the chat. If users can approve, like use this document within the approval workflow from the phone.
Yes.
So yeah, this is how the usage of mobile app would be different from just taking a photo. But it's also good, right, to take a photo and then upload it into the system. But it's quicker. Plus, if you're working in the field, you need to quickly approve something, right, or highlight something, or mark as done. So you can do that from your mobile application on the phone, right? Okay, I think this is maybe one of the questions that we would be just curious about. A lot of vendors on DMS system right on the market over there, right? And everybody's coming and issuing RFPs, RFI, all of the things to define who is the best one. So you both, a technical specialist, actually implementing and delivering the solution to the client. If you were to select a DMS vendor and you were to ask them, right, couple of questions to be able to select the best option for you, what would that be? So Patrick, maybe let's start with you.
I guess I would preface it just as a consultant, that I would ask that you had like sample documents ready when we start talking. It would be I'm a visual person personally, but I believe it pretty much anybody in the document management space likes to see what kind of documents are being used or that are being worked with, that they want to implement a system for. So having samples. But with that said, if you're talking to vendors, what LLM or AI are you using? Is it your own? Are you connecting to another one? Can I bring my own? Those would be some important things. Also, if the AI doesn't do well, or it has low confidence, or it doesn't recognize something, or something goes wrong, is there like a human in the loop step? Is there some sort of, it's nice to buy a car with a big engine, but if you don't have any brakes, it can be kind of dangerous. So,
Yeah.
is there a way that a human can step in to make sure that it's okay, everything's going well? Um, and then if you own your, are the documents being saved in like a proprietary format, something like that? Those will probably be some of the most like im important first questions. I know with, discovery calls and when we go on projects, there's a lot of questions that we can ask and a lot of questions that the customer asks. So, but those will probably be some of the top ones, especially like kind of new questions in this AI era.
Yeah, thank you. Daniil, what's your take here?
Well, as I was speaking previously about who owns the data and all these AI things, I would ask a vendor if they have connectors for self-hosted LLMs. I think it's a good question to ask, in addition to all the Patrick already mentioned. And yeah, and if actually there is a question in the chat, how do we audit AI? Well, you don't really audit AI. What we do, and this actually a good question to the DMS vendor. So I think it's a good question to ask what the audit log is showing. Is it readable? And ask you to show the audit logs. So usually it should contain the information which is sent to the LLM. It should contain the information you receive from the LLM, and this is how you actually control the work with AI. So showing you audit log is also a good question for the DMS vendor.
Yeah, not just saying you have one, right? Okay. Thank you so much. I think we are running out of time just a bit, and we have taken the questions from the chat as we went through the webinar. So I want to take a moment and thank you everybody for being with us today, investing your time. I hope that was helpful. But of course, it's impossible to cover all of the questions, requests, and specific cases. So we are leaving the contacts here in the next slide. So please feel free to either contact us here at Nectain or write directly to Patrick from DEX Imaging if you would like to schedule a discovery call, ask a question, and that would be great if, as you do so, you already, as Patrick mentioned, submitted your couple of samples that you want us to build our demo with, right? Because it's most efficient when we actually show something working using your data and show that it actually works just in a blink of an eye, right? So thanks again, everyone, and have a good one.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Have a good day. Goodbye.
Goodbye.